Why are we here? To discuss my son's life, to celebrate my son's life. Being born in 1987, I'll never forget it. Just a beautiful day, beautiful blessing. Raised him, went all over. We took him everywhere, did everything, learned as much as we could, had a great life. Loved anything outdoors. He was a basketball player, and the kid just grew into such a great man. My wife's baby, he was mama's boy for sure. Definitely was best friends with mom, but him and I had a great relationship. Actually, he did very well in school. He started doing, average kid, but he was very, very intelligent, and he wanted to do things his own way. And he was a little bit ADHD, if you call it, a little bit. This day and age, most of the kids are, and they're pretty wild, but he was good in school.
Michael was an angel. He was born in November of 1987 and was a goofball from the day he was born. Loved to run around, cause chaos, loved to make everybody laugh. He was a comedian and a half. Even towards the end, when he was working in the restaurant business, he talked about joining a comedy show. He also had a heart of gold. That was a young man that would reach out to other parents that have lost their children, talk to them on Mother's Day, Father's Day, just a heart of gold. Cared about everybody in his life.
Michael had a way to make everybody happy. And he was tormented, and we didn't even see it. But he was a great comedian, just a ball of laugh. He was a great kid, beautiful man. And he went on to college. He went on to, and he started a moving company by himself. I'm very proud of him. He just got a new car when it all occurred. He was doing very well. He has 2 daughters, beautiful little girls, left behind.
Michael had 2 kids. One of them he didn't learn about until about a year before he passed. He had just started contacted with her. She just started reaching out from New Hampshire and just started getting a relationship with her. The other one, Talia, 7 years old now, he was raising her on his own. Yes, he lived under our roof, but he was doing it on his own. And that was the hard part. The day he decided to leave home and go, we assumed, go get a joint, he left early in the morning and didn't come home. And at that point, we knew something was wrong because Mikey would never leave his daughter. She was his life. And that was one thing that we had talked about when we knew that he had a problem. We believed it was alcohol, begged him to go for rehab, but he was afraid to leave his daughter for 30 days.
He comes from a family of alcoholics. I'm a drunk. I drank, but I haven't had a drink since '81. So in 1981, I told my children when they were born, when they grew up, as they were growing, be careful because it gets you. You have an addictive personality, so stay away from all this stuff. Tell people that you're allergic to stuff or whatever, And so he got into alcohol, started drinking really heavy, and we tried to get him to stop that. And he did smoke pot. And I guess he was given a joint by a kid a long time ago that was laced with fentanyl, and I guess he was instantly hooked. I didn't know anything about it, and my wife didn't know, but we knew he was on something. We thought it was pills, and he must have been just tormented by this because we would test him all the time and ask him, Mike, this can't be just alcohol. What's going on with you? And he would tell us, no, no, no. We take him for tests all the time, for drug tests, and the tests never came back positive for anything. And we find out that it doesn't test for fentanyl. And so that's how I come to the conclusion that he was definitely tormented by his addictions. I was in law enforcement, and I felt terrible because I was in narcotics, and I didn't know that they was on the street, and kids were getting them for $3 a pill, and they were smoking pills, and it was just horrible to find all this stuff out. And I'd been out of it so long that I didn't stay in the loop about that. So, and we used to ask him, "What is it you're doing? What is it?" And he would never tell us. Say, "It's drinking or smoking pot," and okay. And you have to believe them. You got to trust your kids and believe them until you find out something different. Every time I tried to take him to go get tests, he'd argue, but then we test him and he'd come back clean. And he said, "See, why do you keep doing this?" So we believed him.
We knew he was on something. Friends and brothers and sisters would come up to us and tell us he was on something, and we would automatically go get him tested. And when we tested him, he'd come out clean. The only thing he would have in him was marijuana. He didn't even have the alcohol in his system. It wasn't until after the fact, get involved in all these groups, that I learned there's a special test for fentanyl. Tell you what, that's part of the reason why I'm involved in these groups, because I want other parents to know that. I had no clue. Could I have saved him? I don't know. And I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to go down that road, ever,
What happened? We don't know. He was clean he just started, he got his business going very well. It's a moving company for Charlie Moving. And he just got a new car. And he left in the morning to say that he was going to go get a joint or get some pot or something, I guess, and he left, and we didn't hear from him. We put in a missing persons report. He would never leave his daughter alone. He has one living here and one in New Hampshire, and the one that's here, we took her in. But he would never leave her alone, and he never showed up, never called. We called him and called him and called him, never got a word.
My daughter had called us and said he hadn't come home yet, and she had put something up on Facebook, has anybody seen Mikey around? He had already been gone for over 24 hours. And it was late that afternoon that she got a phone call from someone and said, "Why don't you look on the medical examiner's report?" And that's where we found him.
Police never called, and we find out through some strange person called and said, just all they said was check the medical examiner's office. And we did. That's how we found out our son was dead. No law enforcement showed up. It was horrible. No, the ambulance company was just a horrible situation to go through. And I pray no one ever has to feel that same pain.
The police didn't show up. Our understanding is he was given 2 Narcans by whomever called the police for him. And he was still alive when the paramedics showed up, and he was given 2 more Narcans at the hospital. Again, I have to say God did things the way he did it, because I wish I would have gotten a phone call, but at the same point, there was a reason why I didn't go down there and see my son.
In a parking lot in an apartment complex that's run by the cartels that my son would have no business going to. That's where he was found. Robbed him, took his phone, took his shoes, took his cell phone, took whatever he had. We can't even get a straight answer if he was in his car or outside the car. We can't even get a straight answer from anybody if too many things don't add up. There's just too many things did not, as me as an investigator, don't add up. When I got to the scene, I asked him, I said, well, you know, if he was in his car, wouldn't his seat be soaking wet? Or, you know, because you lose all your fluids in your body. I said, you know, I went through the whole thing and called the investigator. I called internal affairs at Phoenix, and I just got run around and told stories and told that it's not illegal to give fentanyl to people in Arizona. By a detective in narcotics told me this. They said they were too busy to handle what's going on. I mean, this is insanity. What's happening in our country is it's crazy. No, this fentanyl. It's got to be stopped. Well, they say there's no crime scene, so what can they do? Well, why didn't they show up when the supposedly Good Samaritan called and they said, bring the ambulance, and the ambulance showed up, but my son was, you know, there's supposed to be police officers there. There weren't. And they came to the story to me was that they said, I believe they said that they were too busy. You know, and that's that. And it was pretty much a pretty rough conversation. I talked to internal affairs, I talked to detectives, I talked to the Phoenix, I think it was Cactus District. I forget which one it was right now. And I get just run around, just stories. I went to the apartment complex after my son was found to do a little investigating, and I went into the manager's office and I asked them, I said, you know, acted like I was going to rent an apartment, and asked them if they had video cameras and if they had security, and they were very spooked. And then I left so they wouldn't put it together, and I called maybe a day or two later or something, and I asked them, I said, hey, do you know anything about this dead body they found in the parking lot? And they played totally stupid that they didn't know anything about it. What are you talking about? Now, how can a manager not know? There's a dead body found in their apartment complex. I don't understand. So then I talked to DEA, and I had given them the address, told them where it was, and I had told them that it's being run by, you know, it's a narcotics hotel. That's what everybody, you know, the dope out all the place. And they confirmed that with me, DEA did. And so they're helping me out. They're not opening an investigation because they don't do murder investigations. Basically, they just, you know, they do drug enforcement. However, they did say that they're going to see if they can get an investigation opened. Day by day. That's all you can do. You know, I mean, I love my son. I miss my son every second of every day. Just waiting. You know, just, you know, I'm a Christian. My wife's Christian. We believe in faith. You know, my faith is that he's okay. He's in a good place. He's better. He's not in pain. But he was awful young, 35 years old. But only the good die young, you know, as they say. But he was a wonderful person, just absolutely the most beautiful man you'll ever meet. Honest, pure. But he had demons, you know, couldn't fight them.
I've looked back and I've gotten angry that I didn't get to see my son before he died. But I also thank the Lord every day that I didn't have to see him like that, nor that I had to be like one of these other parents that had to pull the plug on their child. I would never want to have to do that, ever. I wouldn't be able to. So in a lot of ways, I'm blessed with the way, like my husband said, we believe in the higher power, and I do believe the Lord helped us through a lot of this, including giving me that little girl to raise, because I don't have time to think about other things now that I got a 7-year-old in my lap. I can't fret over what would have been or could have been. I have to make sure this little, and that's a promise that I will keep for my son, that I will make sure that girl has the best life. And I know he's around. I have to share one or two little stories if I can. We have a little boy that's autistic that lives around the corner. and I pick his sister up for school every day with his daughter. And right around Christmas time, he came up to the car, and he gave myself and Talia a ticket to the North Pole. When he walked away, he told his mom, "Mom, I don't have a ticket for Mikey. He was sitting in the back seat of the car. I have to go to school and go get a ticket for Mikey." So my son's around, and he's making sure he's keeping an eye on that little girl. It was amazing. I personally have not seen him around, but boy, oh boy, that is, ever since that day, he's almost everywhere now. Now I'm sitting here going, "You behind me in my car?" You heard the story, and the funny thing was, on the ride there, I was telling my granddaughter, "You're not 14. You're only 7. And she's arguing with me. I feel like I'm more 10. And now I know that my son's sitting behind me laughing the whole time as I'm arguing with his daughter. So I'm blessed that I have her in my life so that I don't have to sit there and worry about the loss. I could tell you, I was in a fog for the first year. I couldn't even tell you what happened the first year of our life with him gone. You kind of just go through the motions. I will tell you, I think the initials is DEMW, Drug Enforcement Memorial Wall. Those were the first ones I got involved with. And they were amazing. To be involved in the different groups. Enough is Enough was another one. We did have a couple of, what do you call them, banners? What do you call those? That we put up with Mikey on there. Just set the awareness, and that helps. It really does help to have your son out there on a billboard and having other people see that handsome young man and know that he's no longer with us. I hope someone can look at that and say, that could have been my son, and it's not my son. I hope it saves someone.
It's very important, I think, to the public, because most of these youngsters don't realize what they're dealing with. They don't realize that, you know, like when we were younger, a puff of marijuana or a pot wasn't going to kill you. Today, you don't know what you're doing, and you're playing Russian roulette with everything. And it's horrible. And these kids don't know. Schools don't teach them. You know, I'd like to get a program going for my wife actually wanted to get a program going for the schools. And I think that's a brilliant idea. Get into the schools and get the message out, you know.
The groups have really helped. I have always been in the restaurant field. And so putting together a get-together or a party per se is something I enjoy doing. And we've had 3 of them so far since my son has passed. And to be able to get together with other families, not just the mothers, the fathers, the brothers, the sisters, you know, and being able to share our stories and just being there for them. Because I will tell you, a dear friend of mine lost her child many, many years ago to this, and I did not understand. I wanted to understand why it was taking her so long to get over it. Let me tell you. I had to call her and apologize, because you never get over losing a child. Never. Never.